Hello, everyone, and welcome to How to Chess. We are joined this week by a Romanian IM. He is also a fast rising Twitch streamer, YouTuber, trainer, and acclaimed Chessable author. Over the board, he was the 2018 Romanian National Champion, and I am pleased to welcome Alex Banzea, International Master, to the show. Welcome, Alex.
Well, thanks a lot for that, Ben. That was a lot of kind words. I feel like you got the wrong guy, but I appreciate that. So very happy to be here among so many successful chess players that I've been before.
Well, you've got quite a list already for just a 22-year-old, so I'm happy to have you, Alex. And when we thought about this topic, the theme for this season, which is role models, you came to mind because you've been very vocal about your role models within your chess course. Now, Grandmaster Constantin Lupulescu is not. I mean, obviously, he's been a top 100 player. Serious chess fans know his name. Top players know who he is. But he's not necessarily a household name in the chess world. But you say he is the best Romanian chess player of all time. So what was your introduction to Constantin?
Well, I mean, if we have to start a little bit, just to give you a quick introduction, he was really the person that had the biggest impact over my career overall. Even though I started working with him when I was already a FIDE master, so a lot of people may think that the biggest jump that I had was prior that, from like a beginner to like over 2300. But yeah, around the years between 10 to 15, I worked with a lot of people here and there, just trying to learn a thing or two. Yeah, I mean, we have the saying in Romania that you don't really have to learn a skill, but you need to steal the skill. So the point of that is, like what your pain points are and how to express that, while when you're working with a coach, he can show you the theory and this kind of standard ideas, but you need to be vocal about what makes you uncomfortable. So that's basically what Konstantin and I were able to do a lot around these years. Because I worked with him for over 3, close to 4 years, and yeah, you mentioned that I said is the best Romanian player. Well, how I got introduced to him, it's a pretty random story because, uh, let's say, when it comes to my situation, I was kind of like, let's say, people said I was a fun kid to hang out with, and I managed to gather like a lot of connections at that age of 15, just like traveling around tournaments. I wasn't necessarily like the strongest player of all time, but for Romanian standards, I was doing okay as a FIDE master at like 15, and uh, I had a guy that was also a grandmaster who kind of connected me to Konstantin. And at that point, when I got the news that, I was looking for a coach and he wants to coach me, I was like, wait a minute, I've never talked before with a guy. He's like the greatest Romanian player ever. How is this possible? That must be, I must be dreaming or something. So that was like kind of my first reaction there, just on like how we got like introduced.
So were you, I mean, obviously you'd been hearing his name for many years as a fast growing, top young player in your country. So were you nervous in your first interactions with him once you finally got to work with him?
Of course. I mean, you can think of it. Imagine when you have like your sort of first school crush. That's how I felt, like going into this. I was like super nervous, excited, and yeah, very welcome for all. So, yeah.
But then it ended up, of course, being a fruitful relationship with, as you said, you guys working together for years. And as you dove into the chess, what sort of lessons did you gain from this national chess legend?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to really make a summary in like a few minutes of work that happened on a course of like 3 to 4 years. So, like, just as a reference point, we started working when I was a FIDE master. However, I was a little bit inflated. So, I got to 2300, but then I kind of had a bounce back to like 2200, stagnated there for a little while. And well, actually, I was stagnating between like 22, 2300 for like 3 years, despite I was training daily, traveling, playing tournaments, doing the same routine, working with my coach. All becomes pretty frustrating at some point, but kind of like the breakthrough moment for me came in a month where basically in 3 tournaments, I jumped from 2300 to 24th, 25,
Wow.
and that felt it was a good month.
Yeah.
That felt pretty good, definitely. So I guess in the end it all paid off. But I mean, everything from openings, middle games, he showed me how top players work, how they're training, and on top of that, I am a very sort of happy and lucky case because he wasn't only my coach; he was like, let's say, a best friend for me. So yeah, I was very lucky to get in touch with him. He helped me, yeah, almost for free. I mean, if obviously everybody wants to become rich at some point and that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm more of a minimalist guy. I can like easily sleep on the floor. I don't really care about this kind of stuff. But if I want to become rich at some point, just want to drop by his house and be like, okay, dude, here's 10 grand. Be happy, do whatever, and just to pay back these people that helped me around the years. So
That's
that's
nice
kind
to
of how I
hear.
feel
Yeah.
about it.
That's a worthy goal for sure. And let me ask you, so you mentioned being stuck at a certain level for a couple years. That's something I think a lot of people listening and watching can relate to. I certainly can. So did you change your routine? And I'm also curious, obviously, Constantine, to get to his level, he's had his ups and downs as well. Even for top 100 grandmasters, it's not all glide path up. So I'm curious if you remember any advice that he gave you during that challenging period that you mentioned, Alex.
Yeah, for sure. I think it just comes to being a pretty solid player overall. And this is not something that I was around the years. I had these ups and downs, not because I was doing everything perfectly, okay? I clearly did a lot of mistakes along the way. But what I can say from working with a professional, everything that they do at that level is calculated. If I ever come up to Constantine and be like, oh, this is a rare move. This could maybe be interesting. What do you think of it? It'd be like, oh, already seen it, analyzed that. For these guys, there is like nothing new. I mean, maybe if you come up with like a novelty that has never been played before, they'd be like, oh, this is interesting. But everything that has been played before and it's actually interesting, I can tell you these guys are aware of. So obviously, yeah, for me, I wasn't really working this way because it's pretty overwhelming job, and hey, I wasn't like the perfect kind of example. Still, out of like my situation, starting as a 10 years old, more professionally, while most people do when they are like 6, I did like kind of okay, thinking that you kind of have a 4 years gap, and most people that make it to GM late do it while playing professional chess between age to 20 to like 24, kind of catching on to those 4 years that let's say a lot of people get while being young. So yeah, related to being stuck, you just have to be a professional, study, know your openings well. If you're stuck, you really probably don't have all the pieces of the puzzle put together. And sure, it's a lot of things that comes to form as well. You can't really have only good tournaments, although you could minimize the losses. And something that I found out about myself, I think this maybe has to do a lot with any individual, but whenever I used to hang out with strong players, let's say myself, I mean, I was not the strong player, but
You were pretty good.
Constantine, some of his friends that were like very well-known Romanian GMs. When we used to hang out at tournaments, usually those tournaments, I clearly did the best. I was clearly overperforming. Well, I had them when I had them around me. Now, the sad part is I couldn't get them every single tournament. So it only happened like once a year in the Romanian National Championship and stuff like that. But usually having a group of people that are kind of well accomplished chess players for me was always pretty big driver. I can't name a single time where I had this sort of company and I played bad. That never happened to me.
So do you think it was the preparation that they helped you with, or was it just sort of it gave you confidence, or both?
I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's not really preparation, but you just feel like more confident. Yeah, so you hang out with them. It's just yeah, I just the kind of general vibe, and I guess I wasn't really that stressed as I would normally be. Seeing them not being stressed. Okay, strong players, they know what they're doing. Why would they be stressed? You hang out with weaker players, everybody's like, oh, maybe I don't know, I don't remember what I play, not sure what my guy is gonna do. I mean, they're just chilling. Like they already studied their openings at home. They only need to check what if their opponent is doing this or that, and it's just like very easy prep for them. I noticed there's like a kind of a specific routine before the game. They just have usually very little prep, more like casual walks, for coffee, stuff like that, which is clearly very good for having a clear mind. So yeah, compared to, let's say, when I used to share a room with other juniors, they would just be nonstop on their computer, like trying to reinvent the wheel in, let's say, the Nimzovich or something like that. So
And Alex, of course, in your Chessable courses, you're focusing on openings. You've got anti-Sicilian toolkit. You've got the London system course. How did these guys working with Grandmaster Lupulescu and other top Romanian GMs? How did they inform your approach to openings?
well, it basically changed it like 180 degrees. Actually, that's maybe not making a lot of sense. Maybe say 90 degrees. So it like really changed my approach, because the way my theory used to look before, I would just have my chess base file, or say whatever opening file you have, just have some moves that throw them in there. While if you look at the opening files that they had, they were huge. Okay, when I was working with them, Chessable was not a thing. There were not a lot of really important opening courses. Mainly people used to work with chess books at that time. So talking like 8 years ago, like let's say there's a lot of books coming from Mihail Marin, or other books like Negi Pari Marian's series on E4 was a big thing back then. So yeah, for them it was a mix of analyzing the positions while having these references with the books, but they would really go into detail. So if there is one thing that made a huge difference, they would know move orders, which I got to feed the master by never being really worried about like move orders. That was wait, move order, what is that? It was a new concept to me. Okay, I was playing aggressive open positions, which maybe didn't really matter that much to know move orders, but these guys knew everything in important detail. And it's funny because you may be thinking, okay, move orders, that's not important. I mean, that's just scratching the surface. It's like probably irrelevant. Well, these guys can win games easily just because they tricked somebody with a move order. So everything that you do, I think below move 10, there's probably a lot of things that you think you understand, but you most likely don't, because it's easy to overlook. So I can clearly say that. And that's something that I'm trying to still get better at.
There's always something to get better at. And so it sounds like you learned some nuances in move orders with your openings. And I'm sure you were analyzing games as you worked with Grandmaster Lupulescu. Was there anything else you were doing in your lessons? Like what was the nature of a general lesson with him?
Well, when I was working with him, it was a lot of traveling and doing game analysis. So between, like, let's say, since I was 10, basically until COVID, I used to travel like once a month. So anytime it was something to analyze, like going over the games, or in, let's say, the later period, it was since we weren't playing that much. I got to a level after working with him for like a couple of years that I was even able to help him with some stuff. So he had this World Cup matches facing very strong players, and I was obviously very happy to do some work trying to help him with some tasks too. So in general, it was game analysis, openings, of course, other interesting middle games from some of his games, but it was never really the focus to check out his games. And also, he mentioned right from like our first lesson that he doesn't want me to have him as an idol, as a player or something like that. Obviously, being very humble. So I'm still definitely having him as one of my favorite players. But yeah, I would say it's just yeah, probably there's no secret whenever it comes to training. People, I think, tend to kind of overcomplicate what they're doing. It's really just knowing your openings and knowing them really well, and just taking your game to like a pretty insane level when it comes to accuracy. So um, just have to do this process. That's like a whole grind.
Know your openings, review your games, just the
Exactly. Yeah.
classics. And do you feel that and I know you do some teaching as well. So do you feel that even for like club level adults, it's still important to know your openings?
Well, it definitely is, but you don't want to dive into the extremes because some people really overstudy things and treat chess like it's a topic in school, just kind of like a research purpose. But chess is more of like trying to play an instrument. So I don't know about like how you need to train for playing the violin, but I guess watching somebody play the violin won't really make you play it better. So
Right.
I don't know if that makes any sense. That might actually be the way to do it, but I haven't
No, that's
researched.
funny. No, and I've also heard a similar analogy with swimming. Like if you're going to learn how to swim, you don't read a book about it. I mean, you might once, but sooner or later you just have to get in the pool.
For
Um,
sure. Yes.
yeah. And just a couple more topics to hit, Alex. Number one, of course, Constantine, you mentioned the best Romanian player of all time, but Romania has two new recruits this year. You've got Grandmaster Richard Rapport and Grandmaster Kirill Shevchenko from Ukraine joining the team. So I'm sure you're a player, but as someone who's one of the better players in your country, is that exciting for you?
Well, it definitely is. I mean, I'm not like really keeping in touch with the Romanian Federation and with other players, really. But from this perspective, it's making the Romanian team way better. But on the other hand, it kind of makes it tough for the other, Romanian
Yeah.
guys. So it's kind of sad for them, I would say. But overall, the federation is doing way better than it was when I was a kid. So I'm happy to see that, and hopefully some of the young talents get to benefit from that. Um,
Yeah, we deal with those questions a lot here in the US as new talent gets brought in and it kind of pushes people like Jeffrey Zhang and Sam Shanklin, who are homegrown, down a little bit. It's definitely a double edged sword, even though you're happy for the players that came. And obviously, in the case of Grandmaster Shevchenko coming from Ukraine, he needed a safe place to be able to represent. So, um, yeah, it's these are tricky issues. But bringing it back to your own work, Alex. So you've got a bunch of chess courses already at just 22 years of age. Dare I ask if you have any others that you're working on?
yes, I'm actually working on a caro-kann course, so that is probably gonna be my okay, similar to the London course, one of my biggest projects so far. So I'm working on that while also doing the YouTube grind. So that's kind of my focus right now. You mentioned I'm a Twitch streamer. I'm actually not streaming that much recently. At least I'm just trying to focus more on making the videos, and it's kind of like a different job of being a YouTuber compared to a streamer. You need to like really research titles and thumbnails, and that's like a lot of creative work, which is not easy to do. I mean, it's rough, but I'm not complaining, so I'm really enjoying what I'm doing.
Yeah, I saw you're at about 30K subs, which is quite good. But yeah, I mean, there's so many great chess YouTubers that it's just like chess. It's its own competitive ecosystem. But Alex, I mean, you're a young man, and I've gotten many messages saying that there are fans of yours out there. So I think you're figuring some things out.
Well, that's very nice of you to say. I mean, I had pretty decent growth. Like last month, I grew like 11K subs. So that's kind of half of my channel already. So 20K plus 10K. So very happy for that. I mean, kind of like in my chess career, the first 2, 3 years were like really rough, but then you start to figure out some things naturally. So, yeah, so far it kind of translated in like a pretty similar way.
Excellent. Yeah, that's I think a good note to end on. Good clarifying advice there for dealing with slumps, whether it be with chess or anything else in life. So Alex, I think people know they can find you on Chessable. New course might even be out by the time this interview comes out. Your YouTube channel. You're on Twitter. Any other social media that people should check for?
I think that's all. Just check the YouTube. That's all it matters.
Oh, excellent. All right. Well, Alex, thanks a lot. Been fun chatting about the impact that Grandmaster Constantin Lupulescu, the lessons that he has taught you, and fun getting to know you a bit.
Thanks a lot for that, Ben.
Okay. Take care.